YouTube, people around the world. This is RealWillDrive. We're riding on time, man. It's good to see y'all. Real quick, man, I just came up with a nice video idea. Whether you should lease or finance a vehicle. Just got in the scat, as y'all can hear. Just started it up. Auto started it, getting it warmed up and whatnot. But that's how long it's gonna take to finish this video. Whether you should finance or lease a Scat Pack, a Hellcat, a RT, a V6, Sonata, any vehicle like that, right? Just any vehicle in general, because it's very important that you understand the knowledge which I'm about to give you to either finance or lease a vehicle. Now, the main important things to know about each other is that, again, you still owe the bank, because even if you finance or lease a vehicle, you still owe money on that card. So even though people may be like, oh, you leased the car, you don't own that. Or people seem to hate a lot more on leasing a vehicle than financing a vehicle for I don't know what reason, because at the end of the day, you still owe a loan on that bank that you're through, right? So you can lease an apartment, which everyone do, or rent an apartment. You still lease that, and you still owe money to that person that owns the apartment, which is what? Either that person, the bank. So same thing with a vehicle. Now, there's specific things that you guys need to know about leasing or financing a vehicle. You don't own neither or if you pay it out strictly. When it comes to leasing a vehicle, you can lease it for a year, sometimes even up to 3 years or even more, depending, the contract that you're dealing with. Even like celebrities leased vehicles because, again, they're around the world. And for two, you can get that new vehicle rather than financing that vehicle to be stuck with it. And, some people like to be up to date, and rather than owing money to that financed vehicle, you can go ahead, when that contract ends for that lease, you can go ahead and get that new year. So rather than being upside down on it, there's a lot of dish going on with the leasing and not leasing a vehicle, and rather than financing it. But again, I mean, there's no really big difference, because you still owe money on the vehicle, right? But there's miles that is a limit to be added on for the lease. It wouldn't be a big upcharge, I should say, on the lease if you go past those miles. So I mean, just like with an apartment, I think it's a good idea to lease a vehicle rather than finance a vehicle, because we've all been brought up to think that financing a vehicle is the number one way to go. But then again, we have number two, which is lease. I just want to say it's something to consider when getting a vehicle. Somebody outside, yo. Oh, it's my neighbor. My bad. I'm tripping. But I'm thinking about getting a house and whatnot. So, things are up in the air right now. But I've came to the conclusion that I would like to see my car parked in a house rather than an apartment. So when it comes to calculating the payments for the leasing and the depreciation of it, because it's cheaper, right? In general, it's cheaper to lease a vehicle than to finance. Why? Because when it comes to the end of that contract, that's the number that they come out with on how much the vehicle is worth at that end. Now, it might be a little bit different when it comes to my girl Smokey. We had our times up and downs, and with a Hellcat or even RTs maybe, because of the appreciation that it gets. Because again, it's limited in due time that these cars will be last when the V8s are done. Electric, man. Really, I kind of hold this car as a appreciation rather than a depreciation, because it holds its value. And I've done videos on how much the CarMax is worth, and for how much I own it, it's definitely worth more than what I owe on it, even though I paid however much money I paid in my other video that I did on how much I paid for a Scat Pack in a year. If you guys want to save up money and you're looking for an alternative to go ahead and get that dream Charger and that dream Scat Pack or a Hellcat or RT, even an SXT that you want, go ahead and lease the vehicle, because it'll save you not one, money, but it'll save you a lot more things to come with it. Meaning worrying about if you're upside down on the vehicle, or worrying if you'll get that profit for it. You won't have to worry about none of that, because yes, you're in a contract when you're financing it, but it's a little bit more of a legitimate contract when you're leasing it, because that time will come up when the lease is up. But that doesn't mean you can't finance it or even potentially own the vehicle. That just means that we're letting you use the car for your fun in your meantime, in your doings in everyday life, but the vehicle comes to us. But again, same thing with finance. If you miss that payment, man, guess who's gonna come? That 2013 tow truck that's gonna go ahead and get your scat pack because you missed the payment. And not only that, it can show up on your stuff that you got repoed, and that lasts for about like 6 years. Now, I don't know if you can lease it rather than to finance if you order that new vehicle, like a Hellcat that I'm gonna get soon. But I would rather do that than to finance it. And you know, it's not uncommon a lot of times, and people think you're just being cheap, but I mean, most millionaires are cheap. You know what I'm saying? You'll see a motherfucker walking down the street, not even a random street, but you know, a street, whatever, and wearing fucking Skechers, and they're worth $3 million, and you know, they don't give a care in the world. But my point is that, you know, everyone likes to save money rather than spend money. I'm just putting it up in the air that leasing a vehicle is something that you should consider rather than financing. I'm Real Will Drive, worldwide, and we on time. I hope y'all taking this video in consideration of your next decision. Peace.